Hi everyone and welcome to Niamh's Art Journal channel. Today I have finished halfway of my Dina Wakely art journal, so I thought I'd share a quick flip through of what I've done so far in it. So I love this piece on the front. It really sums up what art journaling is for me. Art journal is where my mind whispers lay to rest. And that was a piece done by Courtney Diaz as part of her Patreon tribe printables. So I started this journal on the 5th of June this year, and this first piece was a piece done with the leftovers from another journal I've got with paper cutting, so I decided to use the bits and pieces and put them together as a flower. Not my favourite piece, but it was an interesting technique to use. This is done for one of the Dina Wakely Show Us Your Media Tribe challenges, and I love the fact it's all in monochromatic colours and just how the white pops on the page. So this technique is done with an artist, inspiration from an artist on Instagram called, I can't remember her name, I will link it below, but I just love how it works. It's using a vintage photo, which you can kind of see the border of, and then just going over the top of it with paint pens. And I know I've got a video on my YouTube channel with this technique in the mark making series. This first page of burlap, and I don't struggle to use a burlap, but I find it difficult to use a burlap as is, and I tend to stick tissue paper over the top just to give it a much firmer feel, and it means that the inks and the paints won't go through it. So this is just a quick collage over the top, altering a magazine image and sticking some stickers on that I had. This again was a quote that came across in the Dina Wakely Media Tribe Challenge. They tried to bury us, they didn't know we were seeds, and I just loved it, and I wanted to have it in my journal somewhere just to remind me. And I find when I come across quotes that I really like, I like to put them in my journal just because I know where they are and they can go back and inspire me or remind me of things. This piece was inspired by another talented Australian artist called Jen Halls, I think, Tribe of Five, and I just loved her illustration style and how whimsical it was. So I was sort of trying to channel some of the different pieces that she does in her artwork, and I really enjoyed doing this. Certainly not usual colour combinations I would use, but it was good to sort of push me outside my usual limits. These two pieces I really love. This one was just all about mark making and layering. I didn't have a real plan when I did it, but I just love how it all came together and how bright and vibrant it was. This piece and the piece on the next page, there's a YouTube video on how to do this. It's working wet on canvas and using the scribble sticks and Stabilo pencil in the background and just making marks in the wet gesso and then collaging over the top. I really enjoy doing this technique. There's something really freeing about working while it's still wet and not knowing what the end result's going to be. I also really love drawing in with the Stabilo pencil while it's wet because you sort of get those inky splots and scratches into the paint, so it works really well. These collage images are from a company called Mischief Circus, which are downloadables which you can pay for. This collage was just done with out of magazine clippings and washi tape. That's Jane Davenport washi tape. The same sort of technique, just in a different colourway. This is another page that was done for my mark making series, and I really loved it. I was inspired. My mum does free motion quilting, and this is a pattern that she had to practice her free motion quilting. Well, some of the doodles that they had for the free motion quilting, and I sort of ran with it and did my own doodles and coloured it in. I really like sort of the stark contrast. It's a very simple page to do, but it's something really bright and cheerful, and it cheers me up every time I have a look at it. This is a page using the cotton rag paper, and I had some new clear gesso which I wanted to try, and it wasn't the Dina Wakely gesso, which is really, really smooth, which is all it reminds me of gel medium almost. This one's got a real tooth to it, so it actually feels sort of not prickly, but you can feel the tooth to it on the page. But it was great to use the, what did I use? I think I used watered down acrylic paints in the background, but then I've put the distressed crayons over the top, and I like the way that the tooth in the gesso has sort of left the texture in it, and then just putting the stencils over the top. And again, I really enjoyed this technique of journaling with the Stabilo oil pencil and then just spraying it with water over the top, which makes it bleed out and make it less readable. Because I have a thing about having my journaling too readable, because the people I love like to read it to see what's going on in my head, and sometimes I don't want them to read everything. So if I can sort of blur it out in some way, it means I get it out of my head, but it's still there. I loved these pages, and it was me coming back to my roots of collage. And on my YouTube channel, again, there are some videos on how these pages were completed and how I go about my collage process. But basically, it's just using weird and wacky, wonderful things from magazines. For example, the heart here is made up of two chilies, sort of overlapped. The star was a biscuit from a Christmas magazine. The hat was actually a little bit of a placemat. The glasses came from a different image from the woman, but I love how it all comes together. And again, with a lot of pages in this journal, I've been doing lots of big quotes. I don't know why. Obviously, I need to tell myself lots and lots this time, so that's what's happening. This one was all about being positive and just, you know, the fact that your brain is constantly in overdrive, or my brain, sorry, is constantly in overdrive, and all the thoughts coming out, and usually they're negative, so trying to have that positive self-talk. I like the quote here from Flattered by Stickers, never apologise for being yourself. So this one, Choose to See the Good Stuff. Again, doctored magazine image and some ephemera stuck in. These are both on canvas pages too, and you can see by doing collage on them it kind of gets quite thick and firm. This is playing around with gel prints using a circle stamp that I had. It's actually a shadow moon stamp, but I used it as a mini gel press, and using the tips from the Jane Davenport paintbrushes just to make marks into the circles and print over the top. I didn't draw the giraffe, that is a printout. But I just like the way the black and white works with the colour. And this is inspired by a video I watched by Caroline Dubois, Dube, not sure her name, but she does lots and lots in gel printing. And it was a really lovely way to sort of play around. These two again were made when I was doing my collage go. This page I've got the how-to in my collage series, how to make collage dolls, and then going through and making this page. I loved using the letters from the magazine to make up my title. I really enjoyed that process, apart from the fact it took ages to sort of find all the letters, but I like the look on the page. This is some of my last pages from my 100 Days project. I think this is page 99 actually. And this is Jane Davenport's face from her papers, and just some cut out scrapbooking paper. And I've got a huge stack of scrapbooking paper, but I need to remember to go back and use it as collage elements. But I really love how this page came together. And this page is probably one of my favorites. I love the fact that it's so abstract and it's all about mark making and using the drippy ink. I did think when I dripped the black ink down the top of it that I'd ruined it, but it's really grown on me, so much so that I've actually done this on a large metre by 60 centimetres I think canvas, and submitted it to a local art competition, and I really like it in big scale, but I really enjoy having this in my page, my journal. This was a page, again, inspired by that quote on the front of my book. This is where my mind whispers lay to rest. And this page I was playing with foiling in my journal, just using some different mediums, gel medium and some glues and some of the Heidi Mist reactive paint, I think it is, to see how I could get foil to stick on my page. So it made it a little bit hard to stamp over, but I quite like the fact that's really soft. This image is from Courtney Diaz, Little Raven Ink, her Patreon printables, and then just making the body out of washi tape, which I really enjoy how the colours worked really well together on this one. This is another page using the Courtney Diaz printables, and she had this beautiful collage sheet which I then tore up and put together, and it's based on a Japanese technique of if something's broken, it's put together with gold, so it's broken but the flaws is still beautiful. And I think that worked really well with the quote. She is a beautiful piece of broken pottery put back together by her own hands, and in a critical world judges her cracks while missing the beauty of how she made herself whole again. And to do the quote, I actually printed it out on my computer over some collage paper I'd made, so that's where the colours in the background have come together. This section of my journal was a labour of love, and again it's on my YouTube channel. It's one of my favourite things, and I'm so glad I've got it in my journal. It's something that I go back and look at regularly, and I think if I'd done it in any other way I wouldn't do that. This is based on the style of Nick Bantock, who's a fabulous collage artist, and it's based on the books Griffin and Sabine. The reason I think I'm so passionate about this piece is this picture here. It's very special to me because it was done by a beautiful woman called Marg, whose birthday is actually today, who died 6 years ago of cancer, and her husband gave me last year, he found a whole heap of her art supplies, and he gave them to me, and in the art supplies I found this most magnificent sketch, and I just wanted to have it included. I wanted to have her artwork included with mine. So I love the fact that it's in here and it's translucent, but it's still her. It's very special to have. So this is Griffin and Sabine. If you haven't come across the books, are all based on writing postcards and letters between two people who have no connection whatsoever, so they think. These letters just keep turning up, but they can see each other in their dreams, and they suddenly realise that they actually know each other even though they've never met. And it's all to do with mail art, making your own postage. So I really enjoyed this project because I could write my version of the story. So I've written another 4 postcards to sort of follow on from the story between Griffin and Sabine. So I like the way it just all overlaps, and the whole point of the project was to make it look like you were opening a box and you just found all this stuff and you get to sort through it. So that's sort of the reason behind it, and the collage in the back. This was a technique that was inspired by Adele Toomey, Inky Quill, where she had lots of tissue papers in the background, bright dilutions paint, and then masking over the top. And this is I think it's a Maya Angelou poem about the free bird. This was a previous collage that I'd done. It's just been sitting on my desk floating around, and I wanted to include it somewhere, so I just stapled it into my journal and just used the dilution spray on the back onto the burlap, which works really, really well if you don't want to do anything on the back. So I found by doing that I needed to put the tissue on the back of the burlap so it wouldn't leak through. You can see somewhere where it's run when the gel medium's gone through to glue down the tissue, but it's worked quite well. So this is a page again I've done on my YouTube channel, and this is again there was no rhyme or reason to doing this. I just needed to get it done. I'm loving this colour combination of fuchsia and cheddar, which is the Dina Wakley paints, and you'll see that come up a lot more often in the next few pages because they've been sitting sort of at the top of my paint start pile, and they're ones that I pull out a lot. Again, with the whole of this journal as I go through, big quotes are obviously the thing, sort of positive, you know, G yourself on quotes. This page I don't particularly like, but it's interesting, and it was done one night. I wanted to do some collage, and I still had a lot of the Nick Bantock collage bits and pieces sitting out and around, so I combined them all together. I really wanted to explore dripping ink on this one, coloured ink, which worked okay, and I like how it went over the top of the collage. I need to go back and change or do something with the quote. The pen I was using didn't work very well, so it doesn't stand out very much. It says, a mind stretched by new experiences can never go back to its old dimensions. This was a super simple page, and it was one of my most recent videos. Really quick and easy, and it's using water-soluble oil pastels, and I just love the brightness of it, and I love the contrast with the gold texture paste. It works really well on the canvas. Again, you can see the fuchsia and the cheddar. This page was done as a practice piece for another canvas that I was working on. I sort of had the background done, but I hadn't finished it, and I wanted to practice in my journal first. This page was my use it up page while I was working on this page, but I finished it off in the same time because it's kind of on a roll. So using the new Dina Wakley, or a Dina Wakley stencil, and some of her word quotes as hair. This is a page done for the Brush Magazine Mystery Box Challenge. So I think you had to use 3 colours of acrylic, which I used blackberry violet, tangerine and lime. You had to use a black and white pen. I kind of cheated because I used a white pen and black paint because I needed to put the stencil over. Oil pastels and vintage text. So I've got some old, it's actually got it here, 1952 paper in the background. And the oil pastels behind the flowers. I really liked how this page went together. I have used water-soluble oil pastels and acrylic paints before, but I'm actually quite surprised how well it's sort of soaked into the page and it doesn't rub off. The only issue I had was I've done a gel print on this page and I had to get it really saturated to rub it off, and it started to reactivate the paint here, but it didn't do too much damage to the page. I just put a piece of tissue paper, paper towel in, and it was fine. So I've been playing with gel print transfer, not gel print transfers. Oh dear, my head's away with me. Gel medium transfers or image transfers, where you put gel medium on a magazine image, stick it down on the page, and then wet the back when it's dry and rub the excess off. This one worked really well. There's a few patches where I rubbed too hard and sort of it went through to the cotton rag paper, but I like how it turned out. And then I painted over the entire piece with some neutral colours just to tie in with the skin tone. Put on a little bit of that vintage text again because I had it sitting around to tie the whole page together. And the question is not what you look at, but what you see, to incorporate the windows. I do enjoy putting the whites back in the eyes just to draw them as a focal point, and it sort of ties the 3 spots of white together, sort of make that triangular bit. This next page is one I had to do today because I just needed to do it. I found out this morning that my boss had passed away, and she's done a lot for me, and I just need to get it down on paper. Sorry. So yeah, therapy's good for that way. This page I was, sorry, I was playing around with neutrals. I really liked using neutrals on this page and I wanted to try it again. They're not colours I tend to go for very often, but I really liked how this turned out. And it's, again, using the Dina Wakley paints. Most of the paints I use are the Dina Wakley paints. They're really convenient. I love the colours of them and they just work really well together. I love the fact that I can apply them thickly and they also go really, really translucent if you add lots of water, but they don't lose the pigment. So I can use them in lots of different ways. So this one's using buff, elephant, umber, in the background, a little bit of gold Inca, or Inca gold, sorry, of the gold wax, just to highlight it a bit. The Sedona, which is a colour I bought and I don't particularly like, but I love it in this page, and a little bit of the olive as well. Two colours that I thought I'd really enjoy, but I haven't. But seeing them in this page, I can see how they work really, really well. This is the first gel transfer I did into my journal, and I love the texture it gave on the page and how crisp and clear it was. I didn't let this dry as long as this gel transfer. So you can see this one's an awful lot clearer than this one, but I actually like this transfer better. I found it a lot easier to remove the excess paper while it was still damp. It hadn't completely dried. It did remove some of the print as well, but it worked okay. And it worked particularly well on this page because I wanted to have that cracks and it looked not perfect. So she threw away all her masks and put on her sole, cracks and all. So it really worked well on this page. So I don't know how I would do it again in the future, but one thing I do love about it, I don't know if you can see on the video, is that doing it onto the rag paper, you actually get the texture of the rag paper on your gel transfer, which is a really lovely effect to have. I really enjoy it. This page was a renovation page. I had two pages in here which I really loathed. I'd done them really, really quickly, hadn't really thought about them, and they just really bugged me being on my page. So I figured, well, if you don't like them, paint over them. So this is what I came up with. Again, there's a video on how I did that process. This page was done for the Show Us Your Media September challenge, and it was basically who has your back. And again, because I've got fairly personal journaling, I wanted to hide it in some way, so I put the tracing paper over the back. I've stamped on the tracing paper, so again it gives it a bit of texture. It also, I didn't trim it very well, so I folded it a few times, but that's fine. So you can still see there's something behind there. If you want to go in and look at it, you can, but it sort of hides your journaling in some way. This is me playing around with some resist techniques using embossing powders in my art journal, which I really enjoyed doing. This is a very subtle one with the stencils, with my embossing powder here as well, just to make a decorative tile. This is doing a bit of collage on a cleaner up page, which I've got a video on as well, and using the gold texture paste in the background. So just having a play with different techniques. I really love that colour combination. Again, you can see that fuchsia and cheddar coming through. This again was using a resist technique using the embossing enamels and embedding one of the tissue papers into the clear embossing enamel, so it sort of floats above the writing underneath. And this is my final page, I think. Yep. So she couldn't keep the colours inside her line, so she drew new ones. I'm loving these Dina Wakley faces. I find them really, really helpful. I love the fact that I can make them translucent so you can see the backgrounds come through. You can write over them, you can paint over them, you can do whatever you want. But it just really helps. And I love the fact that you can actually, if you want to have it facing the other way, you can flip it round and have it on the other way. These are the Tim Holtz foam stamps, and they just stamp up beautifully. This is a really, really simple page to do, and there will be a video coming up shortly about how this was done. just layering up the paints and doing a ghosting technique and then sticking this over. But it's a really, really bright page, which surprises me, because while I look through my journal, I use a lot of bright colours, but I usually dull them down in some way. So I'm actually letting the bright colours shine on this page, which I enjoy. So I hope you enjoyed this quick flip through of my journal. I've got the next half to do. Hopefully I'll be finished before December and I can do the second half. But I wanted to do it before it got too full for you, or too long. The video got too long for you. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.